I'm now joined by Dan Perry, who served as the Middle East editor of the Associated Press, as well as the chairman of the Foreign Press Association in Jerusalem. Thank you so much for being here this morning and helping us break this down.
My pleasure. How long?
We're hearing even reports that Benjamin Netanyahu may be trying to change the terms of the agreement, that could be causing a hiccup in all of this. So let's start with Hamas, reportedly not even wanting to come to the negotiating table. Hamas now claiming it wants the mediators to come back with a, quote, serious response from Israel before moving forward with discussions. What does all of this actually mean?
I don't think it means very much at all, Nick. Israel and Hamas will not speak directly anyway. Even when Hamas does come, it's not to a table, it's to a different room or a different building, and negotiators go back and forth. Moreover, the previous Hamas teams that would show up at least to the same city weren't really the decision makers. They were fake politicians in Armani suits that actually had no particular power. The power in Hamas right now is with Yahya Sinwar, who holds all their assets, control on the ground to a degree that it remains in Gaza, support of a considerable part of Palestinian opinion, and critically, the Israeli hostages. No matter what, he will either agree or disagree to whatever Israel's terms are, and potentially to the changes Israel wants to introduce, and to what Biden says was its own proposal from 2 months ago. So it's messy, but I do believe if Israel wants to do the deal that had been on the table more or less for 6 months, then it will.
Is that a deal, Dan, that you think is the best deal that will come? Because we've heard Benjamin Netanyahu say that Hamas really does not want to negotiate.
Oh, I wouldn't take very seriously what people say in the middle of negotiations. As for Netanyahu, he has an undoubtedly difficult choice to make. The deal that's on the table that, again, Biden says Israel kind of agreed to, is ending the war, withdrawing from Gaza in exchange for all the hostages, and sufficing with a degree to which they've degraded Hamas, but more or less leaving Hamas in power in Gaza. Netanyahu and many Israelis understandably rebel against this because Hamas, in their view, and not only in their view, is a force for evil, likely to regroup and attack them again. However, to the extent that there's no one there instead of Hamas, that's also Netanyahu's own fault, because there have been many proposals to restore a version of the Palestinian Authority, which is the only other brand to Gaza, that Netanyahu has prevented from taking off for political reasons inside Israel, because his coalition depends on hardliners who refuse. So Netanyahu has created a situation where there's no alternative. I do think it may be, at this point, the least of a bad series of choices for Israel to get back the hostages alive before they all die out and live to fight another day.
And Dan, it appears that these talks are coming to a critical point in this conflict. The U.S. has been increasing its military presence in the Middle East, signaling Iran not to attack. CIA Director William Burns will also be present for these discussions. We've gone through multiple rounds of negotiations before, but do today's talks hold a different feel?
There is a sense that, the journalistic cliches are correct in this case. A pivotal week, critical days on a knife's edge. I think it's actually true. And you see this in the incredible degree of U.S. engagement, sending over submarines and aircraft carriers and threatening Iran publicly with devastating consequences should they miscalculate. I think U.S. engagement has been quite impressive, and it does appear as if it has caused Iran second thoughts about attacking Israel in any significant way. The weird thing is the linkage has been created between the Iran issue and the Gaza issue. Iran's not part of the Gaza war officially, and yet now Iran itself is saying that it will hold off on its revenge for the assassination in Tehran if Israel agrees to the deal. So it's not just critical days, it's also very bizarre days, I must say.
Dan Perry, thank you so much for joining us this morning.